Hey everyone, it's Rye bringing you episode 11 of the Learning Lekmod series. This one's going to be talking about city micro and how we can use microing our cities to hit certain breakpoints a lot faster, which will overall speed our game up more drastically than if we weren't to do this. We're also going to talk about things like why production focus is a thing, how city calculations work, and and then we'll get into an example and just kind of show a couple turns of stuff that you should be doing in every single turn of play. So let's just jump right into what I prepared for us. So the way city micro works, and the way a city calculation works rather, and this is very easy to learn because it's always on the right side of your screen under citizen management, is your city is going to calculate how much food it has. Okay? So the first thing it's going to do, well, actually, I guess the first thing on a turn that happens is it calculates your golden age. So any change in happiness like growth won't affect your golden age, but it's a minute point. The first thing that happens on a per city basis, and it always starts in your capital. Okay, so you're always going to start the calculation in your capital, is you're going to finish the food, or you're gonna calculate how much food is in your capital. So, for instance, this is an example game I actually had from one of the honor guides I made. Feel free to check it out if you're interested. But for instance, my capital right here has 10 food. Okay, that means the first thing it's gonna do, right? The first thing it's gonna do is it's gonna calculate this food. And you'll see that I'm currently 50.6 out of 51 food, which means I'm going to grow. That means after finish calculating how much food it has, how much total food, and just an FYI, I use EUI, so I would recommend using EUI. A lot of, it's safe. A lot of people really like it, but it really helps you kind of see these breakpoints a lot easier in growth and production. And that's why I use it. I think it's essential for calculating overflow and whatnot. Okay. But it's going to calculate the food first. And what I mean by that is your food does not get applied with the new citizen, right? Because the food is which is what created the new citizen in the first place. So your food is going to calculate, then it determines if you grow or not. Okay? Then, if you grow, it will be placed into, that new citizen will be placed into whatever focus tile you want, depending on this stuff. There are a couple exceptions. If you have too high of yields on a certain tile, right? If you have Lake Victoria and you have it on production focus and you're not working Lake Victoria, it'll probably default to just work Lake Victoria. But most of the time, it's going to grow into whatever highest yield tile you have selected in the citizen management screen. So that's why we always want production, because we always want it to grow into more production to help us finish it. Because it's not, growing into food isn't a thing, right? Because the food doesn't get calculated with the new citizen, because the food is what calculated to create the new citizen. Okay, so we're going to move into production next. It's going to then calculate all of the production tiles we have, all of the citizens, all the production tiles. So when I move over to next turn, right, let me just rework some of these tiles real quick. Okay, where is this city, when it grows, going to grow into? Well, the highest hammer tile that isn't currently being worked is 3. An iron tile and a horse tile. It'll grow into the horse tile because the horse tile just has a total amount of more yields than this unimproved iron. If this iron was improved, it would grow into iron. Frankly, what we could do is, because we're growing into a 1 food tile and we're working a 0 food tile, because food doesn't get calculated after growth, we should work the horse instead. We just gained a food, right? We just gained 1 food. And we're still going to be growing into this obsidian, because the obsidian now is the highest hammer tile. So we can take that concept and we can use it for every single one of our cities, right? So where is this going to grow? Well, it's going to grow into the 2 food. But let's say I don't want it to grow into 2 food. Let's say I just want to prioritize growing. I could work this 3 food. I just gained 3 food. And now it'll grow into this iron tile. And I can check all of my cities to make sure, hey, okay, are these close to growing? All right, like, okay, this can grow in 6. I don't really think it's possible to grow a little bit faster given what tiles I have. Okay, this can grow in 3, or this can grow in 2 if I find 3 food. So I can just work this tile, and now it's growing in 2 turns, right? And this is a good way to kind of figure out how fast you can grow in each city and when certain buildings are finishing, right? If you're really close to finishing a building, like this watermill, for instance, if I wasn't going to grow, maybe I just work, the obsidian instead of the horse. And now my watermill is going to finish. This is assuming I'm not going to grow, but I'm going to grow, so it'll finish anyway. But the point still stands. Like, this is how you can micro down cities, and this is what you should be doing every single turn. You should be checking, okay, is this going to grow? Yes. Okay, where is it going to grow? Okay, cool. Just want to make sure that all of that is buttoned up properly. Following that, it'll complete the gold, the science, culture, great people, faith, etc. These are less important. The main one is the production and food. Once we do grow, let's just grow real quick. Let's end this turn. Okay. So as we said, it finishes the watermill and it grows into the obsidian tile, right? Is this the tile I want to be working? Right? This is where it grew into. Is this the tile I want to be working? Right now, probably, right? I'm short on gold and I want the hammers because I have a lot of hammers, but I still want the hammers. So I think right now this is fine. If you want to prioritize food, right, you could just work the wheat or you could work the citrus or whatever else. But it's important to know that when you grow, you check to see which tiles you grew into, right? As we knew, this would grow into the iron tile. That's what we want to be working. Okay, that's all well and good. Okay. Just go here. Zip up a little bit. Remember, I just grew into this tile. I will probably want to be working food here. Watermill. All right. Now, similar thing. Okay, Zagreb is now going to grow, right? This formerly wasn't going to grow in time, but now it will. This can finish an aqueduct in 7, but this can grow in 2. So I want to make sure I'm growing. My priority is definitely growing rather than finishing a building. Most of the time. But, this varies based on whoever you want. Now, here's an interesting one. Where is this going to grow if I grow this turn? Well, it'll grow into either gold or horse. It's almost random in a sense. But what if we want it to grow into gold because growing into food doesn't matter? Well, what we can do is we can set it to gold focus. That way, when I apply this citizen, it's going to auto grow into this gold tile, right? And that's going to help because, maybe we're short on gold. Maybe we care about the gold. Maybe it's turn 5 and we're growing to our first pop and we don't have a hill to grow into. Well, we can set it to gold focus and we'll grow into our luxury. And then that gives us the gold we need, right? So it's just important to know after you do grow, set it back to production focus. So these are all different things we can kind of be thinking about as we're better improving the sim of our cities. Okay, so the way it works is that after it finishes in your capital, if you press the right arrow key or you press up here, you can move to the next city it's going to be growing. That's going to be calculated. This is relevant for things like Taj Mahal. If you build Taj Mahal in a capital, right, it's going to apply the food, production. Whatever you produce is then provided on every single subsequent city that's calculated and for the rest of that calculation as well. So for instance, if you finish, mausoleum, you're going to get the 4 gold or the 2 gold from this obsidian tile after finishing building it, right? Because gold finishes after production. So similarly, if we finish Taj Mahal in our capital, that means the golden age starts after the capital is finished producing, which means it applies for all other cities. So that's why building Taj Mahal is by far the best to do it in your capital. Okay, so that's how we figured out which cities get applied first. This is relevant especially for stuff like Rome, right? Maybe you don't want to start building something until it's finished in your cap, but it's going to finish that turn. You can start that turn, right? Because it's going to finish and then it's going to start in the other ones. All these actions don't happen at the same time. This can also be true for things like annexing cities. If it has one turn of resistance left, resistance actually gets applied before anything. So it's going to calculate resistance and then it's going to move forward. So let's skip ahead. We'll just, quickly sim here. Okay. All right. So we just grew in there's a bug with EUI where it shows a lot of extra population icons, but the point is, it still tells you which one it grew into, which is all that we care about. Okay, so Lusaka grew, right? These are the tiles. It's really sad, not a lot of workers for marching, but Lusaka just grew. Let's just make sure this is what I want to be working. Is this what I want to be working? I want to finish this. I don't really care about finishing the circus. I'd rather grow faster. Okay, I'm going to move this. I'm going to lock this tile, make sure that it's always going to be working this this farm or the grassland tile, and then we'll go from there. Okay, bring this down. Chop down. Libjuania is now going to grow into the gold tile. We don't have to change that, right? It's going to grow into the gold tile for sure. Right, this is all well and good. Okay. Where else grew? Cahokia grew. Are these the tiles I want to be working in Cahokia? Probably not. I'd rather kind of work this tile here because there's not a lot of options here, and then work the gold in this side, in this city. Maybe Chaco Canyon has some extra tiles for us. Maybe we want to prioritize growing. Maybe we'd rather grow in. Actually, I guess that doesn't change, so there's no point. But let's say we would just want to finish whatever buildings in Cahokia. We could give Cahokia this tile. Similarly, we are going to be growing in Belgrade. Let's just make sure that this is the tile we want to be growing into. We want to be growing into this iron tile? Potentially. But I'd rather work the food, just have more food, and then grow back into the obsidian. All right. I'm just going to delete these for ease of use. And then let's feed Libjuania because it's behind. All right. So I hope you understand what we're doing here, right? This lumber mill's about to finish. I want to finish it this turn. It looks like if I'm working this tile, it's one hammer away. I can work this hill instead, and now it'll finish this turn, right? Belgrade, it grew back into our obsidian. We want to keep working the obsidian, so let's save it there. Okay. We're just going through all the motions here, but I think a lot of these concepts are pretty intuitive once you understand the mechanics of Civ, but frankly, a lot of people don't fundamentally understand them, and that's totally fine. But I think this is just it's an essential thing to learn when you're kind of getting the hang of this game. All right. So as long as we're just kind of growing into the right tiles, we didn't grow this turn, but let's just make sure, okay, is everything finishing that we want to finish? Can I grow faster? Okay, Cahokia can definitely grow faster, right? Maybe Chaco Canyon, sorry. I can unwork this iron tile, work this food. Now I'm growing a turn faster. These kinds of things don't seem like a lot, right? Okay, like I'm missing a growth in forever puts that city one whole cycle behind it normally would. you're also losing science. You're losing an extra hammer slot. You're losing the potential gold from growing into tiles. The gold from city connections, right? So, whatever. Growing into cities is so... Understanding where you're going to grow into cities, understanding how you can manipulate it for your advantage is huge. And this is all like a fundamental aspect of the game. It's one of the things that you have to do. This is why, wide play in general has a pretty high learning curve, because there's a lot to micromanage, right? You're micromanaging all of the growth in every single city. It can be a lot. So the only way you're going to get better at doing something like this is by playing more and by practicing, by playing those Liberty games, by playing those wide games. And I would just recommend, and this is another reason why I like finishing my worker movement, my worker actions in the turn rather than letting them finish automatically. Because if I finish them in the turn, it tells me how close I am to those breakpoints, right? Because I just finished this maze, I can see I'm now 1 food away. Formerly, I didn't know, right? But I can now work this plains tile and now grow in 2 turns because I finished this maze tile. I wouldn't have known previously, and I'd have to rework, maybe the cattle or Grand Mesa to make up for it. But by finishing the worker movement this turn, I'm able to see that ahead. Just like this, like I see I'm 1.14 food away. If I work 1 extra food because of the multipliers on food, I have a King's Day, I have honor 10% food. It's able to grow a little bit sooner. So this is the end of the video. This is, like I said, this is gonna be a pretty short video, but this is how you micro cities. This is the process at which cities are calculated. This is how you can get a little bit more from your cities than you would normally. So hopefully this was helpful. Let me know if you have any comments below, and stay tuned for the next one.